Blast shields, haven, damage, they're all a bit of a mystery in Paladins, mainly because they don't explicitly state which abilities do what type of damage, and how the damage system exactly works, it's a bit vague. So it's very understandable that people would just be guessing at the moment and maybe not 100% knowing exactly what to pick and when, and whether or not their defense item is actually doing anything. And today Nico101 helped me out to test on the live servers what the damage types were exactly, and I'd also asked Reddit about the two damage types too, to clear up the guesses that I had been going off. It turns out the Paladins wiki itself has an expanded list giving the exact type of damage that the attack does on each character, and that is very helpful because it gives us a direct damage and the area damage, which in the game the blast shield says it reduces AoE damage, which is a bit different to the area damage tag in the Wikipedia. Maybe that's been changed by the devs, and Haven lists direct damage as its reduction. But direct damage in the game, because there's no context for it, you don't see on any of your abilities or anything saying whether you're doing a direct damage or not, you're left to sort of guess as to what does direct damage. And you think, hey, with Victor, he just fires off bullets, that's definitely direct damage. And then you'd think Drogo, he fires off missiles, that's definitely AoE damage. But some may blur the lines a little bit. Getting the nitty gritty, these two types of damage are reduced by either one of the abilities, and each hero has its main attack, and it is either direct damage or area damage. And the blast shields will prevent the area damage, whilst Haven will reduce just direct damage attacks, and neither will affect each other. And the heroes with a left click AoE are Fernando, Bomb King, Drogos, Pip, Evie and Skye. Notice there's only 6 of them, so it does make sense the meta at the moment has all been picking Haven most of the time, as the likelihood is that you're going to have more direct heroes than AoE heroes. But to cover them anyway, the direct heroes are Barik, Makoa, Ruckus, Kinessa, Victor, Grok, Grover, Maldamba, Ying, Androxus, Book and Cassie. This is just the main attacks, not taking the abilities into consideration, but that's what you're going to be wanting to focus on anyway. And some of those to pick out that might have been a bit confusing are, say, Fernando, whose Flame Lance is one you might expect to be more direct damage, as you're sort of firing a beam at somebody, and it wouldn't be ridiculous to assume that that beam is directly hitting your character, so a direct attack. Where similarly, Barik or Book are both firing off shotgun shells, and they do travel in an area, but they only damage directly on the enemy. But that isn't the case. Fernando is classed as an AoE hero, and that his actual damage being tested on the server is reduced both in his burn tick and also in his normal damage. Whereas Makoa, who does have an explosive projectile, which you might think might be an AoE, actually isn't and is a direct hitting hero, which actually does make sense because in the game there isn't an AoE blast, you do have to hit the enemies, but it might be misleading if you're quite new to the game. Why is this all important, you might very well ask? Well, basically, once you start a game, a lot of people at the moment are just picking Haven over everything else, thinking that it is just generally better, which is true most of the time, seeing as that there are more characters that can be countered by the Haven. But sometimes when you're in a game and you see your allies all pick Haven, and there's actually maybe even all of the AoE heroes on there, you think that item is doing absolutely nothing. So my advice really is to count the amount of heroes on the enemy team that you know are AoE heroes and the amount that are direct damage heroes, and make a decision on whether to go for one or the other, unless of course you want to go for Illuminate because the Skye keeps on flanking you and you want to catch them off guard, or maybe Resilience, which reduces cripple, slows, things like that, but that's very niche. So say if the enemy team had like a Bomb King throwing in his stuns all the time, Pip, yeah, quite a few of the others that do some cripple effects. There's actually a good Reddit post about those in my description as well, I'll link that to that. Somebody on Reddit and the forums posted that up, which is very helpful. But back to the damage types, most of the time you're going to be wanting to counter the damage that you're taking. Generally, the more enemies that are one type of damage, you want to counter that, so AoE you want to get blast shields, or direct you want to get Haven. But obviously if you're a Drogos and your enemy Victor is hell, firing at you all of the time, really harassing you, you might think, well, the enemy team has 3 other AoE heroes, but this Victor is really peeving me off and actually I need to counter some of that damage. I really do hope that hi-rez actually put the descriptions in and say what type of damage each ability does, because that would be really helpful for newer players and even people that have been playing for a while that might still be just guessing at what exactly does what. Because I'll hold my hands up, I was quite ignorant. I was just guessing of generally what I thought they would be, and I was wrong on Fernando. That was the one that was wrong, and I thought he might have been a direct attack, just because of the idea of it being a direct attack. And before I knew that I could go onto the wiki and check out the abilities, I was very lost. And I had actually looked at it a few times, getting frustrated, looking on Google, and a lot of the conversations on Reddit and the forums were very argumentative, and they didn't give an exact answer. I don't know whether it's changed over time, but this is the way it seems to be now. And again, I hope that hi-rez puts something in, maybe more of an explanation in Haven and Blast Shields as to what it will counter, maybe even putting the list of the heroes in, because that'll just be very helpful. It'll just be very quick. These are all the heroes that it'll stops their main attack damage, and these are the ones that will still get through, because then somebody would know straight away, oh, actually this isn't worth my money. I mean, it's not a big thing, because obviously it's a small part of the match, but at the end of the day, you want to level the playing field on knowledge, but the better the playing field is level on the knowledge side, the more skill you're going to see in your game, and the more potential for the rank system, which I also want to say very quickly is that the rank system right now is actually quite good. I've been getting into matches in 1 to 5 minutes, which is fairly quick. It's quite comparable to Dota 2, so I'm happy with the ranked at the moment, still having fun in those games. Paladins also released the OB36 patch onto the test server, so I'm going to be trying that out tonight, and I'll probably have a video out tomorrow, along with some thoughts on the PlanetSide 2 update, which has just gone live, and some of the controversy, well not controversy, but drama with some of the items, the way things are monetized. It's just worth talking about, I think. So that might come out tomorrow or Wednesday. Anyway, did this help you out? Were you in the dark before as well? Were you just guessing like I was? Or did you know all along? Were you in the know? Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you thought this video was very illuminating, give it a like. If you thought it was as confusing as damage types, give it a dislike. I am going to be doing a beginner's guide for Paladins very soon as well, which I've been planning for a while, but I had to get all these frustrations out of the way, all the number crunching, and I thought this one was actually important enough to do a video on its own. Anyway, be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with everything. Thank you all very much for watching. Until next time, Joshino.